There we go. All right. So welcome to the podcast, everybody. I'm gonna start doing like videos. So I'm posting them on YouTube. So make sure you guys follow the YouTube channel and all that good stuff. Make sure you guys follow the podcast too as well. So you guys can listen to the audio and all that good stuff. But so I'm just gonna continue on from chapter 5 from what I read, and just gonna continue on and finish the chapter out strong. Another thing, if you guys want to, I didn't record videos for the other chapters, so if you guys want to listen to chapter 2, 3, or 4, be sure to click the link in the bio, and then you guys can just listen to them. From this point on, I'll be doing more videos, and posting them on YouTube. So once again, just follow the YouTube, and you'll get. I'll be doing both, so I'll do the audio, and I'll do YouTube as well for those of you guys who like to listen to the podcast. And yeah, follow the podcast. I appreciate you guys. If you guys are tuning in for the first time, this is my first, my first YouTube reading financial literacy books. As you guys can see, I got like stacks of books over here. So I'll just be reading these books, talk about how I feel about them, and pretty much just try to engage you guys, and see if you guys are liking the content. If you guys like the content, follow, subscribe, put those notifications on so you guys can get the heads up on when I do record and things of that nature. So I'm just chilling here. It's a Sunday. Today's Sunday. Gotta get up early in the morning, so I'll just finish this chapter up, and we'll go from there. All right, but sipping, and we're gonna read. So let's get to it. So starting from chapter 5, just continuing on from where I left off. So I'm on page 188. I put it on the podcast and all that good stuff. But yeah, I'll just record this portion, okay? I'm not gonna start over. But for the next chapter, chapter 6, I'll video record the whole thing and go from there, okay? All right, so without further ado, let's do it. So during this depressed market, Kim and I were able to do 6 of these simple transactions in our spare time. While the bulk of our money was in larger properties in the stock market, we were able to create more than $190,000 in assets in those 6 buy, create, and sell transactions. That comes to approximately $19,000 a year in income, much of it sheltered through our private corporation. Much of that $19,000 a year goes to pay for our company, cars, gas, travel, insurance, dinners with clients, and other things. By the time the government gets a chance to tax that income, it's been spent on legally allowed pre-tax expenses. This was a simple example of how money is invented, created, and protected using financial intelligence. Ask yourself, how long would it take to save $190,000? Would the bank pay you 10% interest on your money, and the promissory note is good for 30 years? I hope they never pay me the $190,000. I have to pay a tax if they pay me the principal, and besides, $19,000 paid over 30 years is a little over $500,000 in income. I have people ask what happens if the person doesn't pay. That does happen, and it's good news. That $60,000 home could be taken back and resold for $70,000, and another $2,500 collected as a loan processing fee. It would still be a zero down transaction in the mind of a new buyer, and the process would go on. The first time I sold the house, I paid back the $2,000, so technically I have no money in the transaction. My return on investment, or ROI, is infinite. It's an example of no money making a lot of money. In the second transaction, when resold, I would have put $2,000 in my pocket and re-extended the loan to 30 years. What would my ROI be if I got paid money to make money? I do not know, but it sure beats saving $100 a month. which actually starts out as 150 because it's after tax income for 40 years earning low interest. And again, your tax on the interest, and again, your tax on the interest. That is not too intelligent. It may be safe, but it's not smart. A few years later, as the Phoenix real estate market strengthened, those houses were sold for $60,000, became worth $110,000. Foreclosure opportunities were still available, but became rare. It cost a valuable asset, my time, to go out looking for them. Thousands of buyers were looking for the few available deals. The market had changed. It was time to move on and look for other opportunities to put in the asset column. You can't do that here. That is against the law. You're lying. I hear those comments much more often than, can you show me how to do that? The math is simple. You do not need it. You need algebra or calculus. And the escrow company handles the legal transaction and the servicing of the payments. I have no roofs to fix or toilets to unplug because the owners do that. It's their house. Occasionally someone does not pay, and that is wonderful because there are late fees and they move out and the property is sold again. The court system handles that. And it may not work in your area. The market conditions may be different, but the example illustrates how a simple financial process can create hundreds of thousands of dollars with little money and low risk. And it is an example of money being only an agreement. Anyone with a high school education can do it. Yet most people won't. Most people listen to the standard advice of work hard and save money. For about 30 hours of work, approximately $190,000 was created in the asset column, and no taxes paid. Which sounds harder to you? Number one, work hard, pay 50% in taxes, save what is left. Your savings then earn 5%, which is also taxed. Or number two, take the time to develop your financial intelligence, harness the power of your brain in the asset column. I think number two sounds pretty good. If you use option number one, be sure to factor in how much time it takes you to save $190,000. Time is one of your greatest assets. Now you may understand why I silently shake my head when I hear parents say, my child's doing well in school and receiving a good education. It may be good, but is it adequate? I know the above investment strategy is a small one. It is used to illustrate how small can grow into big. Again, my success reflects the importance of a strong financial foundation, which starts with a strong financial education. I have said it before, but it's worth repeating. Financial intelligence is made up of these four main technical skills. Number one, accounting. Number two, investing. Number three, understanding the markets. Number four, the law. It is the basic foundation or the combination of these skills that is needed to be successful in the pursuit of wealth, whether it be through the buying of small homes, apartment buildings, companies, stocks, bonds, precious metals, baseball cards, or the like. A few years later, the real estate market rebounded and everyone else was getting in. The stock market was booming and everyone was getting in. The U.S. economy was getting back on its feet. I began selling and was now traveling to Peru, Norway, Malaysia, and the Philippines. The investment landscape had changed. We were no longer buying real estate. Now I just watched the values climb inside the asset column and will probably begin selling. I suspect that some of those 6 little houses deals will sell and the $40,000 note will be converted to cash. I need to call my accountant to be prepared for cash and seek ways to shelter it. The point I would like to make is that investments come and go. The market goes up and comes down. Economies improve and crash. The world is always handling your opportunities of a lifetime. Every day of your life, but all too often we fail to see them. But they are there. And the more the world changes and the more technology changes, the more opportunities there will be to allow you and your family to be financially secure for generations to come. So why bother developing your financial intelligence? Again, only you can answer that. I know why I continue to learn, develop. I do it because I know there are changes coming. I'd rather welcome change than cling to the past. I know there will be market booms and market crashes. I want to continually develop my financial intelligence because at each market change, some people will be on their knees begging for their jobs. Others, meanwhile, will take the lemons that life hands them, and we are all handed lemons occasionally and turn them into millions. That's financial intelligence. I am often asked about the lemons I have turned into millions. I hesitate using many more examples of personal investments because I am afraid it comes across as bragging or tooting my own horn. That is not my intention. I use the examples only as numerical and chronological illustrations of actual and simple cases. I use the examples because I want to know, or I want you to know, that it is easy, and the more familiar you become with the 4 pillars of financial intelligence, the easier it becomes. Personally, I use 2 main vehicles to achieve financial growth: real estate and small cap stocks. I use real estate as my foundation. Day in and day out, my properties provide cash flow and occasional spurts of growth and value. The small cap stocks are used for fast growth. I do not recommend anything that I do. The examples are just that, examples. If the opportunity is too complex and I do not understand the investment, I don't do it. Simple math and common sense are all you need to do well financially. There are 5 reasons for using examples. Number 1, to inspire people to learn more. Number 2, to let people know it is easy if the foundation is strong. Number 3, to show that anyone can achieve great wealth. Number 4, to show that there are millions of ways to achieve your goals. Number 5, to show that it's not rocket science. In 1989, I used to jog through a lovely neighborhood in Portland, Oregon. It was a suburb that had little gingerbread houses that were small and cute. I almost expected to see Little Red Riding Hood skipping down the sidewalk on her way to Granny's. There were for sale signs everywhere. The timber market was terrible, the stock market had just crashed, and the economy was depressed. On one street, I noticed a for sale sign that was up longer than most. It looked old. Jogging past it one day, I ran into the owner, who looked troubled. "What are you asking for the house?" I asked. The owner turned and smiled weakly. "Make me an offer," he said. "It's been for sale for over a year. Nobody even comes by anymore to look at it." "I'll look," I said, and I bought the house a half hour later for $20,000 less than his asking price. It was a cute little 2-bedroom home with gingerbread trim on all the windows. It was light blue with gray accents and had been built in 1930. Inside there were a beautiful rock fireplace as well as 2 tiny bedrooms. It was a perfect rental house. We gave the owner $5,000 down for a $45,000 house. That was really worth $65,000, except the one that no one wanted to buy it. The owner moved out in a week, happy to be free, and my first tenant moved in, a local college professor. After the mortgage, expenses, and management fees were paid, we put a little less than $40 in my pocket and at the end of each month. Hardly exciting. A year later, the depressed Oregon real estate market had begun to pick up. California investors flush with money from their still booming real estate market were moving north and buying up Oregon and Washington. We sold that little house for $95,000 to a young couple from California who thought it was a bargain. Our capital gains of approximately $40,000 were placed into a 1031 tax-deferred exchange, and I went shopping for a place to put my money. In about a month, we found a 12-unit apartment house right next to the Intel plant in Burlington, Oregon. The owners lived in Germany, had no idea that the place was worth, and again, just wanted to get out of it. I offered $275,000 for a $450,000 building. They agreed to $300,000. I bought it and held it for 2 years. Utilizing the same 1031 exchange process, we sold the building for $495,000 and bought a 30-unit apartment building in Phoenix, Arizona. Kim and I had moved to Phoenix by then to get out of the rain and needed to sell anyway. Like the former Oregon market, the real estate market in Phoenix was depressed. The price of the 30-unit apartment building in Phoenix was $875,000, and with $875,000 with $225,000 down. The cash flow from 30 units was a little over $5,000 a month. The Arizona market began moving up, and a few years later, a Colorado investor offered us $1.2 million for the property. The point of this example is how a small amount can grow into a large amount. Again, it is a matter of understanding financial statements, investment strategies, and a sense of the market and the laws. If people are not versed in these subjects, then obviously they must follow standard dogma, which is to play it safe, diversify, and only invest in secure investments. The problem with secure investments is that they are often sanitized, that is made so safe that the gains are less. Most large brokerage houses will not touch speculative transactions in order to protect themselves and their clients. And that is a wise policy. The really hot deals are not offered to people who are novices. Often the best deals that make the rich even richer are reserved for those who understand the game. It is technically illegal to offer speculative deals to someone who's considered not sophisticated, but of course it happens. The more sophisticated I get, the more opportunities come my way. Another case for developing your financial intelligence over a lifetime is simply that more opportunities are presented to you. And the greater your financial intelligence, the easier it is to tell whether a deal is good. It's your intelligence that can spot a bad deal or make a bad deal good. The more we learn, and there is a lot to learn, the more money we make simply because we gain experience and wisdom as the years go on. We have friends who are playing it safe, working hard at their profession, and failing to gain financial wisdom, which does take time to develop. Our overall philosophy is to plant seeds inside my asset column. That is my formula. We start small and plant seeds. Some grow, some don't. Inside our real estate corporation, we have property worth several $1 million. It is our own REIT, or real estate investment trust. Facts. The point I'm making in that most of those millions started out as little $5,000 to $10,000 investments. All of those down payments were fortunate to catch a fast rising market and increase tax-free. We traded in and out several times over a number of years. We also own a stock portfolio surrounded by a corporation that Kim and I call our personal mutual fund. We have friends who deal specifically with investor like us who have extra money each month to invest. We buy high-risk, speculative private companies that are just about to go public on a stock exchange in the United States or Canada. An example of how fast gains can be made in 100,000 shares purchased for 25 cents each before the company goes public. 6 months later, the company is listed and the 100,000 shares now are worth $2 each. If the company is well managed, the price keeps going up and the stocks may go to $20 or more per share. There are years when our 25,000 has gone to $1 million in less than a year. It is not gambling if you know what you're doing. It is gambling if you're just throwing money into a deal or praying. The idea in anything is to use your technical knowledge, wisdom, and love of the game to cut the odds down to lower the risk. Of course, there is always risk. It is financial intelligence that improves the odds. Thus, what is risky for one person is less risky to someone else. That is the primary reason I constantly encourage people to invest more in their financial education than in stocks, real estate, and other markets. The smarter you are, the better chance you have of beating the odds. The stock plays I personally invested in were extremely high risk for most people, and absolutely not recommended. I have been playing that game since 1979, and I have paid more than my share in dues. But if you will reread why investments such as these are high risk for most people, you may be able to set your life up differently, so that the ability to take 25,000 and turn it into 1 million in a year is low risk for you. As stated earlier, nothing I have written is a recommendation. It is only used for example of what is simple and possible. What I do is small potatoes in the grand scheme of things. Yet, for the average individual, a passive income of more than 100,000 a year is nice and not hard to achieve. Depending on the market and how smart you are, it can be done in 5 to 10 years. If you keep your living expenses modest, 100,000 coming in as additional income is pleasant, regardless of whether you work. You can work if you like or take time off if you choose, and use the government tax system in your favor rather than against you. My personal bias is real estate. I love real estate because it's stable and slow moving. I keep the base solid. The cash flow is fairly steady, and if properly managed, has a good chance of increasing in value. The beauty of a solid base of real estate is that it allows me to take greater risks, as I do with speculative stocks. If I make great profits in the stock market, I pay my capital gains tax on the gain and then reinvest what's left in real estate, again further securing my asset foundation. A last word on real estate. I have traveled all over the world and taught investing. In every city, I heard people say you cannot buy real estate cheap. That is not my experience. Even in New York or Tokyo or just on the outskirts of the city, prime bargains are overlooked by most people. In Singapore, with their high real estate prices, there are still bargains to be found within a short driving distance. So whether I hear someone say you can't do that here, pointing at me, I remind them that maybe the real statement is I don't know how to do that here yet. Great opportunities are not seen with your eyes. They are seen with your mind. Most people never get wealthy simply because they are not trained financially to recognize opportunities right in front of them. I am often asked, how do I start? In the final chapter of this book, I offer 10 steps that I follow on the road to my financial freedom. But always remember to have fun. When you learn the rules and the vocabulary of investing and begin to build your asset column, I think you'll find that it's a fun game, or it's as fun a game as you'll ever played. Sometimes you win and sometimes you learn, but have fun. Most people never win because they are more afraid of losing. That is why I find school so silly. In school, we learn that mistakes are bad and we are punished for making them. Yet, if you look at the way humans are designed to learn, we learn by making mistakes. We learn to walk by falling down. If we never fell down, we would never walk. The same is true for learning to ride a bike. I still have scars on my knees, but today I can ride a bike without thinking. The same is true for getting rich. Unfortunately, the main reason most people are not rich is because they are terrified of losing. Winners are not afraid of losing, but losers are. Failure is part of the process of success. People who avoid failure also avoid success. I look at money much more like a game of tennis. I play hard, make mistakes, correct, make more mistakes, correct, and get better. If I lose the game, I reach across the net, shake my opponent's hand, smile, and say, see you next Saturday. Let me see, man. All right. Okay. Only one more page. Cool. There are two kinds of investors. The first and most common type of person is who buys a package investment. They call a retail outlet such as a real estate company, a stockbroker, or a financial planner, and they buy something. It could be a mutual fund, a REIT, a stock, or a bond. It is clean and simple way of investing. And an analogy would be a shopper who goes to a computer store and buys a computer right off the shelf. The second type of investor who creates investments. This investor usually assembles a deal in the same way a person who buys components builds a computer. I do not know the first thing about putting the components of a computer together, but I do know how to put pieces of opportunities together, or know people who know how. It is this second type of investor who is the more professional investor. Sometimes it may take years for all the pieces to come together, and sometimes they never do. It's this second type of investor that my rich dad encouraged me to be. It is important to learn how to put the pieces together because that is where the huge wins reside, and sometimes some huge losses if the tide goes against you. If you want to be the second type of investor, you need to develop 3 main skills. Number 1, find an opportunity that everyone else missed. You see with your mind what others miss with their eyes. For example, a friend bought this rundown old house. It was spooky to look at. Everyone wondered why he bought it. What he saw that we did not was that the house came with 4 extra empty lots. He discovered that after going to the title company, after buying the house, he tore the house down and sold the 5 lots to a builder for 3 times what he paid for the entire package. He made $75,000 for 2 months of work. It's not a lot of money, but it sure beats minimum wage, and it's not technically difficult. Number 2, raise money. The average person only goes to the bank. This second type of investor needs to know how to raise capital, and there are many ways that don't require a bank. To get started, I learned how to buy houses without a bank. It was the learned skill of raising money more than the houses themselves that was priceless. All too often I hear people say the bank won't lend me money or I don't have the money to buy it. If you want to be a type 2 investor, you need to learn how to do that which stops most people. In other words, a majority of people let their lack of money stop them from making a deal. If you can avoid that obstacle, you will be millions ahead of those who don't learn those skills. There have been many times I have bought a house, a stock, or an apartment building without a penny in the bank. I once bought an apartment house for $1.2 million. I did what is called tying it up with a written contract between seller and buyer. I then raised $100,000 deposit, which bought me 90 days to raise the rest of the money. Why did I do it? Simply because I knew it was worth $2 million. I never raised the money. Instead, the person who put up the $100,000 gave me $50,000 for finding the deal, took over my position, and I walked away. Total working time, 3 days. Again, it's what you know more than what you buy. Investing is not buying. It's more of a case of knowing. Number 3, organize smart people. Intelligent people are those who work with or hire a person who is more intelligent than they are. When you need advice, you make sure you choose your advisor wisely. There's a lot to learn, but the rewards can be astronomical. If you do not want to learn those skills, then being a type 1 investor is highly recommended. It is what you know that is your greatest wealth. It is what you do not know that is your greatest risk. There is always a risk, so learn to manage risk instead of avoiding it. So that's the end of chapter 5. So, we're on the little study session here. Pretty much like a chapter summary, pretty much. But yeah, hey, if you guys want to listen to other chapters of the other previous chapters, follow the podcast because it's on there. But from this point on, I'll be doing, the other chapters and reading it out loud on YouTube, okay? And, make sure you guys follow the channel, tune in, and, if you guys have questions, leave questions in the comments box, and I'll be sure to answer them. Once again, appreciate you guys for tuning in. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Let's go. Boom. Oh, wait, hold on. So the next chapter is called... So chapter 6, lesson 6, work to learn, don't work for money. That should be interesting. So we'll find out about that one. All right, guys. See you guys.